Hey guys, welcome to the video. For starters, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the group for joining. Please leave feedback. This is going to be one of my first tutorials. For those of you just starting out in Unreal, I remember how difficult it used to be trying to figure everything out. So I want to introduce you guys into some basic things. This can go a long way. Today I'm going to walk everyone through the behind the scenes of how to make a working door with on-screen info, and also how to make lock doors that require a key. So let's go ahead and dive in here, and I'll kind of show you a little overview of what it's going to be like. So we're going to have two doors. We're going to have door A and door B. Door B is going to be locked. As you can see, it's going to say, sorry, you do not have the key. So in order to get the key, we're going to go into here to door A. You'll be able to open it, close it. You can, go back and forth. And then in here, we're going to make this little red cube. This cube, when you walk up to it, it'll show you to pick it up. You'll press E to pick it up. And then if we come back over here, we now have a key, so we can unlock this door. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive into how this works. Let's go back into content. Let's go into my little thing that I built here. So we're going to erase all of this, and we're going to start over. We're going to let this delete for a second. All right, and here we go. So now we have two basic empty doorways with no cube, no key, no nothing. Oh, and let's do one last thing. Let's go ahead and get rid of the animations as well. Let's delete that. Let's delete that. We're gonna add this into here, and we can delete that. All right. So we're starting fresh besides the main layout. So let's go ahead and go on in. So this time let's use an actual door though. So we're gonna use some of the starter content here. We're gonna go into props. We're gonna pull out the small door. Okay, first let's go ahead and get the door set up. So we're gonna move these. Let's go ahead and rotate it by 90 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're just going to line this up in here, and then we're going to try to get to the exact size. And bring this over one. That's good. All right, that's good. So now let's go ahead and upscale it. All right, let's bring it down a little bit. There, perfect. So we are going to come in here, and we're going to rename this door A. Alright, so now that we have door A, we're going to turn this into a blueprint. We're going to put all of this underneath this folder that I just made. Alright, so we now have a blueprint here. So what we're going to do is for starters, we're going to go ahead and we're going to come to add component over here after we're in the blueprint. We are going to search for a box, if I could spell correctly. Box collision. Okay, we're gonna move this over. We're gonna put about that in the center, a little bit there. All right, that looks good. Now we're going to expand it out. And we are gonna wanna make it come out a little further the door. What this little box here is gonna be for is when your character enters this box, you're going to get the options to open the door and close it. So let's see, that looks good. That looks wide enough. Probably come out just a little bit more. All right, there we go. Now what I like to do to make this a little bit more up front so you can see it is I'll come up here to this and we'll rename this and call this trigger. Okay. Once we do that, we're going to come over here into its properties. We're going to scroll down and we're going to look for collisions preset. Underneath collisions, you're going to take this and you're going to change this to trigger. So now what happens is you'll be able to walk through this, you won't collide with it, and when you overlap it, you'll be able to trigger a effect. All right, that one's done. Now that's done. We're going to go ahead and compile this, and then we're going to go into the event graph here. Now we're going to set this up. So we're going to come over here, we're going to click on trigger. We're going to do two things. We're going to add on component begin overlap, and then we're also going to add on component end overlap. So this is saying that when the player overlaps the box, this will happen. And when he leaves the box, this will happen. So let's go ahead and set this up. So the first thing we're going to do is when the player enters the box, we want to enable input. If I could spell right. There we go. Enable input. So what this is going to say is, hey, when the player enters the box, we want to start listening for the keys that are being pressed. So if you were to press a key on the keyboard, this will start to hear it. Otherwise, it won't be listening. Otherwise, if everything in the game is constantly listening, you would have all kinds of issues. Let's say you press E to pick up an item, you press E to open a door, you press E, it'll automatically just assume that, hey, let's go ahead and activate it because, he pressed the key. So what we want to do is we want to enable it while you're in the box. Now the player controller, we're going to drag this out and we're going to type in get player controller. So what this is saying is, hey, the controller we want to listen to is the controller that belongs to the player. Now, once we have that, we're going to come over here and we're going to press it disable input. So, all right, let's go ahead and link this up because we're going to listen to the same controller. All right, so now pretty much what's happening is when you enter the box, it's going to start listening. When you leave the box, it's going to stop listening. Okay, we're going to go and compile this. And then we're going to go ahead and set up one more thing real quick because now we have kind of the base of what's going to happen here. Let's go ahead and do something else that we can throw in here real quick. First, we're going to go to user interface. We're going to come down here to widget. And we're going to call this press E. You can, when you guys start getting more into detail on this, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. But for now, we're just going to call it something simple. Okay, so widgets. Widgets are going to basically be the UI of the game. So right now, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to create it. So if you walk into this box, you're going to get a little note pop up on the screen. That's going to say, hey, press E to open or close. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to go into here. We are going to go to text. We're going to drag this out. Now we're going to go over here to anchors. This is going to make it really easy for us. We're going to put this dead in the center. Okay. And then let's go ahead and do this. So for the text, the box is going to say press E to open or close doors. All right, and once we have that, let's go ahead and move that out of the way real quick. We're going to take this and we're going to drag it to make this easier so we can line it up. All right, we got it about there. So what we can do is go up here and let's go ahead and put 430 because it's going to be the closest. It's at 428. We want to make it an even number so it'll be easy for us. So put 430. And then let's reset that. So now that's at 4. Oh, hold on. So I may have made a mistake because I moved that around. So let's do 470. All right, so 480. So basically, I'm trying to make sure that this box will cover this entire word here. So now that we have that, what we can do is for the y-axis, we can put 0. So it'll line up with that. And then for the x-axis, we're going to take this number right here, and we're going to divide it by 2, pretty much. So that's going to be 240. We're also going to put a minus in front of it, so it'll be negative 240. And what that does is it allows you to line it up with this little thing right here. So it'll put it dead in the center of the screen for you. So here's how you're going to do that. We're going to press compile. Okay, let's go ahead and create one more widget real quick. So user interface, widget blueprint. We're going to call this one pickup. We're going to get this one out of the way. So next we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull text on the name. This one is going to say press E to pick up item. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. we're going to kind of stretch this out, find a good spot. So we'll say 360. And that cuts it off just a little bit. So we'll say 370. Okay, so next we're going to anchor it back down. We're going to set the Y position to 0. And we're going to set this to -1, here, so 150. So that's 175-ish, I believe. No, that's not. That's here, 150. So that's going to be -160. Okay. And then we are going to go ahead and we're going to compile it. That's done. Now, if we go back into our door blueprint, so what we're going to do, we're going to add this into now. So now to make the words pop up on the screen, we're going to go to under enable input. So when you enter the box, it's going to start listening. And then we are going to create a widget. Now, the owning player, we're going to say, hey, we want to go back to the player, to the actual controller of the player. We want to say we want them to be the owner of this. And then from here, we're going to press E. Oh, wow, we spelled that wrong. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. It's been one of those days today. There. So now, when we enter it, it's going to create this widget for us. It's going to, you know what, let's redo this again. Create. Sorry, I messed up with my spelling there, and I just want to fix it. There. Okay, so now after it creates the widget, we want to add it to the viewport. So we're going to say add to viewport. And it is going to be connected with this. So hey, it says that, hey, we're going to take this widget right here, and we're going to add it to the screen so the player can see it. Now, that sets this up. So now when we leave it, we want to also clear up, remove all widgets. All right, so what's going to happen? You're going to enter the box. It's going to start listening for input. It's going to create the widget. Press hey, press E when you enter, or to open and close. It's going to add it to the viewport. And then when you leave, it's going to stop listening, and then it's going to remove the widget. So right now, if we compile this, and we go to play. Oh, we have an error here. This is all fine. There we go. Okay, so now what happens is if we come over here and we enter, you'll see it says press E, and if we leave, it'll go away. So now that this part here is set up, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at inputs. So we're going to press here. We're going to type in, you're going to right click, type input, E, and then if you put in. Okay, to make this easier so you can get right to it, just press input and then ENT. That'll bring you to the enter button, but we're actually looking for this right here, E. So we're going to make it so if we press E, we'll have, you know, the door will open and close. And remember, this will only work if you press E. It'll only work if you're in the box, because that's when it's going to start listening. So now we're listening for input. So we're going to say, hey, if NE, we are going to go ahead and branch that off, and we're going to put if. So what this is going to do is going to search to say, hey, is a variable true or false? Which we need to come over here, go to variables. We're actually going to create two variables. The first one is going to be is open. Okay, so we're going to bring that over. We're going to and we're going to plug that in here. So what this is going to ask is, hey, if we're inside of it and we press E, is the door open or not? If the door is open, then we are going to play an animation. If it's not open, we're going to play the other animation. So let's go into variables. Again, we're going to add one more variable. This one is going to be called animation. We're going to make sure that this is visible. What this is going to do is if we compile it and we add and we click on this, we now have the option right here, animation. Right now it's a true or false statement because it's a Boolean, but we're going to go and we're going to change that. So we're going to click on this. You're going to come over here to the variable spots, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to type in a matinee actor. Okay. And then if we compile this again, boom, we have a spot where we can put an animation in, and it'll play that animation. So let's drag this out, and we're going to press get animation so we can use it as reference. So now what are we going to do here? Okay, so if the door is open, then we need to close it. If the door isn't open, we need to open it. So we'll go in here. We're going to press play. So, hey, it's not open. We need to open that door. But now if it is open, we're going to come in here. We're going to type reverse. All right. So now if it is open, we're going to play that animation in reverse, which will then close the door. Next, we're going to compile that. So this part right here is set up. Now we need to animate it. We're going to animate the door. We're going to make it open. This isn't going to be the best animation. It's just going to be kind of for practice, just so you can kind of get the idea of how this is going to work. So next, we're going to go to cinematics. We're going to add a matinee layer. We're going to come in here, right down here. We're going to press add a new group, and I'm going to call this door A. So next, we're going to click on it. We're going to make sure that door is selected. We'll come over this. We'll right click, actors, add selected actor. Now this is going to lock it to the door. We're going to come in here. We're going to add a movement track. So once we have that, we only want this to be about a second long. So we're going to get this little red line right here, and we're going to move this over to about 1 second. There. So now this door is going to open and close within that 1 second interval. So next, we already have a starting. We're going to bring this. We're going to move it to the end, and then we're going to press add key. So now what this is going to do is it's going to add our animation right in between here. And all we have to do to make this work is we're going to come to this final one right here. This final key. We're going to come here. We're going to click it. And then we're going to rotate to 90 degrees. All right. So now, oh, didn't mean to click that. Now, if we open this back up and we come over here and we play this. Oh, wait, we have an issue. Let's try this again. There we go. And now it's working. And there we go. We have a working door. Open and closes. So this first key here, we need to make sure it's in this direction. And the second key, we need to make sure we open it. And after that, we're going to press save. Yep. There. So now we're going to click on this. Right here it is. We're going to go ahead and rename this door A animation. Okay. And now we're going to click back on our door, and under animation here, we're going to say, hey, we're going to use that door A animation. So we're going to go ahead and save this. So now if we go in here and we press play, we're going to come over here. It's going to pop up, say, hey, press E to open and close. And we're going to press E. And there we go. It opens. Oh. But, all right, let's go back and let's debug that real quick. Let's find out what we did there. Oh, and that's because we forgot to change. We forgot to add in the true or false. So also, one more thing we're going to do here is while we're in here, we're going to say, hey, so once we play this, we're going to come in here and we're going to set door. The door is now open. So it's going to tell it, hey, it's open. We need to close it now. And then also when we close it, we're going to go in here. We're going to set it. So when we close it, we're going to say, hey, the door's closed. When we open it, we're going to say, hey, the door's open. Now let's recompile that. And then let's try that again. And there we go. And now we have a working door. And you can close, you can open it. And there you go. So next, we're going to add a door to the other side. Over here, that requires a key. And now to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to use the original blueprint here. We're going to duplicate it, and we're going to call this door B. So we are going to come over here. We're going to drag this out. We're going to put it in here. We're going to rotate it about 90 degrees, put it back in the same place. And let's line it up with the door frame. Oh, this one looks a little bigger. Let's make this one just a tad bit scaly. Perfect. Okay, so since we copied it, we took all the properties of this. So if we go in here and open it up, as you see, we get all the same stuff. So if we compile it and we come over here and play again, as you're going to see, everything's going to pop up. However, if we press E, it's not going to do anything because we haven't put the animation on it yet, which works. Yep, and that's fine. There's no animation, so we're going to get that little bit of error. As you can tell, if you scroll down, there's no animation yet. So next, we're going to animate this door. And by that, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to Cinematics. We're going to add a new matinee. We're going to come in here, create a new name again, and we're going to call this door B. Now, just like the other one, we're going to make sure we click it, make sure it's selected. We're going to come over here. We're going to press Actors and add selected actors. So now it's locked to the door. Also, it just changed it to movability, which basically is saying, hey, this item can move. And then from there, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag this down to 1 second. Oh, we missed it. We're going to drag that down to 1 second. We're going to come here. We're going to add another movable track. So the starting position is going to be here. And then we want to go to our 1 second, add a new keyframe. And then same thing. We want to rotate this by 90 degrees. Now, if we come back over here, and there we go. We have another working door. We're going to save this. Yes. Okay, so we can go to minimize this, and then we're going to go down here, and we're going to rename this one Door B Animation. So now that they're both animated, we're going to click back on the door. We're going to go to the properties again. We're going to go to the animation, and we're going to press Door B. So now if we come in here, okay, this door is now opening and closing too. But that's not what we want. We want this one to require a key. So we're going to go into this one, edit blueprints, open the blueprint again, and we're going to do something a little different. We're going to come here. We're going to make a new variable. It's going to be a true or false, so make sure it's a Boolean, and we're going to call this is unlocked. All right, so we're going to drag this out. Press here. So now we're going to make another branch in here. So before it gets to this, we want to make sure that, hey, is the door unlocked? So we're going to come here. We're going to drag back off of this and put if, enter. That'll bring up another branch. So now we're going to say, hey, is the door unlocked? If the door is unlocked, then we're going to be able to go over here, check if it's open, and then play the animation that, we need. So we're going to go to compile this, and we're going to add one more thing here, because now we're going to say, hey, we're going to check to see if it's unlocked, but how do we know if it's unlocked or not? And by that, we're going to go and we're going to type in custom event. And for the name of this, we're going to call it unlock door. There. So right now, we're going to have this basically checking, but down here, we're going to add a new one, and we're going to say, hey, is it unlocked? We're going to set that, and we're going to say, yes, it's unlocked. Now this is going to go to our key blueprint to where it'll tell it like, hey, go ahead and activate this and unlock the door. All right, that's done. So now let's come on over here, and we're going to create a new item. Let's create a cube. Scale this down a little bit. Oh, let's get this to be perfect. There we go. And then we're going to set this right there. We'll even rotate it a little bit, throw it off a little bit. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to make this cube red so it stands out. to do that, we're going to create a new material. I'm going to call it red. Okay. We're going to open that up. The base color, we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to look for a constant vector 3, which is right here. Now this is going to allow us to add in color input. So we're going to come over here. We're going to go to red. We're going to bring this up a little bit. Let's find more of a redder color because, you know, I want it to be red. There we go. We're going to press OK, and then we're going to compile that. Okay, we're done with that. We're going to take this and we're going to drag it right in here. Now we got a red cube. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come cube 2. We're going to rename that key so that way we can keep track of everything. And then we're going to click on this cube. We're going to click create a blueprint. And it's going to get in the same folder, the example, and key blueprint. All right, so now we have a key. Now how do we make this work? So what we're going to do is go in here. We're just like the door. We're going to add another box collision. And we're going to call this the same thing, trigger. Okay. We need to upscale it a little bit so that way it fits everything. Oh, way too fast. I didn't mean to do that. We need to make this perfect. Oh, well, let's go back on our trigger here and scale it again. Why is that not letting me click on all 3 of them? That is really weird. Oh, there it goes. All right, so we want to make this one a pretty decent size. Let's see about how big is that. Also, if you kind of zoom out, you can see what it's doing while you do it at the same time. There. That's big enough. So if you walk into here, you'll be able to access these properties here. All right, so next, let's go in here. We don't need these. We can go to delete them. And we're going to add a couple variables here. First, we're going to type in door because we want to access the door. And we're going to go to Boolean. And now this is a very interesting thing that we can do. So from here to access the door and to be able to trigger events, all we have to do is type in door. And as you see, we have door A blueprint and door B. We want door B, which the reason why one has blueprint and one doesn't is because of the names over here. This is door B and then door A blueprint. We just didn't add blueprint to the bottom of this. So that works. So now we have our door. Now from here, we can kind of access it. If we get this, we can say, hey, on door B, we want to unlock the door. And then as you see, it'll say, hey, it'll unlock the door. That's what that's going to allow us to do. We'll do that here in a second, though. First, we want to go into here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a beginning overlap and a trigger overlap. And we're going to do just like we did before. So we're going to enable input, so it listens for the input, and a disable input. And then same thing, get player controller, so it knows who to listen to. And then we're going to create another widget. So create widget, but this time we're going to say, hey, you can pick this item up. So we're going to put that there. We're going to connect it so it knows who to give it to or whose UI to add it to. Add to viewport. And add this. We're going to say target is going to be the widget because we want to add the widget to the viewport. And then same over here. Remove all widgets. So now if we leave, we'll remove the widget. Now same thing. We want to add input. We're going to add the E input. So now while you're in the box. Now this is where if you're in the box and you press E, what happens? Well, you want to unlock the door for starters. So let's go back in here and we'll go ahead and pull that back up. Get door and unlock door. So there. So now if you press E while you're in the near the cube, you're going to unlock the door. But what else do we need to do here? You know, I mean, we unlocked it, but the cube's not going to go anywhere. So next, we need to make it, we're going to trick the player into thinking they picked it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to destroy the actor. So now when we pick it up, it'll unlock the door, and then it'll destroy it. So he's not actually picking it up. it's just gonna vanish, but it's gonna give the illusion that you picked it up. So it works. It's perfect for what we need. So now we press play. As you can see, we can't open it. It doesn't work. Nothing happens. But if we go over here, we can open this door. We're going to say, hey, you can pick it up now. Press E. It's gone. And now if we come over here. Oh, okay. Oh, that's because we forgot to do something real quick. We need to go back to our key real quick. We need to do the same thing that we did over here. So let's open this back up to get back into our door or our key. And we also need to make this visible. Let's recompile this. There we go. So door. Even though, so here's something you guys will always have to remember. Even though we said, hey, we're calling this door B, we still have to connect the door, as you can tell. So door B. So now it's connected. Now let's try this again. So there you go. We can't open it. But now if we come over here, we grab the door, we grab the key, and then we come back, and there we go. We have a full working door. And that concludes this video. If you guys have any other ideas, you know, feel free, throw them in the comments, and we'll create something next time. Till then, see you guys later.